Slate Blocks delivery to the Airport Hangars in Zherbai Quarries. Hello there everybody and welcome to another episode of SnowRunner here at Opafet Gaming. I am the Opafet. The boys have been delivering slate blocks to the airport hangars all week, and my boss came up and asked me if I'd do this last run for them, so I hightailed it out here yesterday, got in late last night, slept overnight, and now it's morning and we're chipper and up and ready to go. So we are in our trusty Avenhorn A15. We are in the one rock at a time number 2 task, which is part of the Zherbai District Mayor's Office contract. And we are going to go and attempt to deliver these 2 slate blocks up to the airport hangars and finish the task. So we're off and rolling. Hopefully we will not have too many incidents, or any incidents as far as that goes. And hopefully it's going to be a slow journey because we're going to take our time. We're driving in the high range of the low gear as there's a lot of rubble around, logs, mud, water, rocks, all sorts of stuff in our way, but we're going to take our time and just slowly climb out of the quarry here, and hopefully we'll have a very eventful delivery with the slate blocks ending up where they have to be at the end of the run. Anyhow, we're gonna slowly creep up the side here. Now this Avenhorn A15 is a very dependable truck, very capable, lots of power, great traction, lots of torque. It's got fantastic balance, nice wide profile on the wheelies in the back, and it's got a low center of gravity, which really helps it a lot. Now, there's other trucks that got bigger tires. They sit a little bit higher up and they can clear some of these boulders a little bit better. And with the small ones, we don't have to worry too much, but the large ones like that one, boy, I tell you, she has a little bit of trouble. And you got to remember, when you're driving over boulders like that, you got to go slow and take your time, but then you got to go slow and take your time anyhow. But especially with the boulders, because when you're going over top, sometimes they'll bounce you from side to side. Now, usually it's not too much of a problem or an issue, but if you're in a narrow area where you could slide off the track, so to speak, you don't want to be bounced off there because you're going a little bit too fast over top of a rock. Now, this here area here is one of my least favorite part of this whole trying to get out of the quarries problem. As you can see, oh, she really tilts to the one side, and it's not a great feeling when you think you're gonna lose your truck there. So, but we made it by okay, and this here area, I love the way that they place these things just perfectly, so you can, if you time it just right, you can get through here without touching or running into anything. But I usually hit something either in one direction or the other. Usually did okay that time. Now the rest of this, I don't know what you want to call it, road trail out of the quarry is fairly standard. There's a couple of little muddy areas. There's a big crack in the rocks over here, which really helps out if you're driving a vehicle that's got twin steer in the front, so that you always got something solid you're sitting on. You see, you got to kind of drop over top of that crack. It's a little wide for a single axle vehicle. But the Avenhorn goes through no problem, and it has only minimal difficulties in the mud. Now, Scouts, I've been through here in my Ford 750. The Scouts have a tough time trying to get through the water area, so if you ever do need to go into the quarry with a Scout, just stick to the edge of the muddy, watery areas, and it's usually a little bit better there. Avenhorn is just too big a truck that little bit of mud pit doesn't bother one iota. The thing that troubles me the most driving through the quarries is the boulders, the big rocks. I mean, you're constantly bouncing from side to side. It's a good thing we're using the Avenhorn and not the Western Star twin steer, because that one already sways from side to side like crazy just from driving. So it's kind of nice that we're driving the Avenhorn, which is one of my favorite trucks to drive. Came in the DLC pack of the Dragon wagons. So it's been a very enjoyable truck, very capable truck to use in some of my journeys here. It's helped me out a lot. Now we're not quite to the top of the quarry yet, but we're getting close. As you can see, this mud pit, if you stay to the side, you should be okay. But if you go through the middle of it with any other vehicles, you might have a little bit of trouble. But not for the Avenhorn. Now we're almost at the top, and then we got a little bit of four-wheeling to do just to get out of the wild bush country to head back out towards the highway, the main artery. Once we get on that, it'll be easy sailing for a little while. But first we got to get out of the quarry. That is the first part. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful game. I love the way they put this together. Now, thank God they did this one without snow. We have our own problems, and enough of them, when we're driving in regions like Almaty, or no, sorry, not Almaty, in Amur or in Quebec, where we have the snow, the Yukon, you know, and they're fun, but this quarry work brings its own natural problems that we don't need to add snow to. Now these here boulders, they set them up just right too, so you have to kind of roll around them. I think that they should have got a backhoe out here and just maybe dug that middle one up and got rid of them, and then we wouldn't have to do this anymore. But they don't have the time for that, so we're just gonna roll through them as best we can for the time being. Now, as we're getting to the top, the sun is starting to go down and she's starting to get a little bit dusky. Now we're going to try and make it all the way to the gas station before we fuel up. As you can tell, it took me a little bit of fuel to get here last night from the garage, and I still had X amount of liters left over. Now I've only got 173. We still got a ways to go. And she uses up quite a bit of fuel when it's really laboring in a lot of these climbs and stuff, and we still got that to go before we get to the fuel station. But we don't have to worry too much because we do have reserves on the bumper. We got two 40-liter containers on either side, so there's 80 on either side, so it's 160 spare liters of fuel in case we run out. But we're going to see how close we get to the fuel station and see what we got left over. It's always kind of nice to know how far your vehicle can drive on any region on a tank full and or the spare that you might have on the roof. That way you can kind of know, you get to know your range, and if there isn't enough fuel stations around, you could always put a fuel trailer out in strategic positions so you can refuel yourself, or, like I keep saying, when you finish a job, leave your vehicle there so it can be used as a mobile fuel station if needed. It's always a good thing. And it's also there as a rescue vehicle in case you get into any kind of trouble. So leave your vehicles at the position that you're at when you finish your task, just in case you need it at that point to go in a different direction. Now, if you happen to need it and it's out in the field somewhere, recover it to the garage and use it. That's the way I do it. But I don't recover them right away. I used to in the beginning, and I found that my map was always empty of vehicles, no trailers, no nothing, and I always had to start from the garage all the time, and it wasn't very feasible at times. So keep that in mind. Now we're getting close to getting out of this little four-wheel drive area, and we're just passing by a huge quarry on the left-hand side, to where we, in our next job, got to deliver a construction rig semi-trailer all the way to the bottom, and that is going to be an adventure and a half. But we're not done with this one yet. We're still in the middle of this adventure. So, but keep an eye out for that next video, because that's going to be a doozy. It's a really treacherous climb down the path of that particular quarry. So keep an eye out. Anyhow, we're getting close to the junction point between the quarries, and when you get there, you go in between them and head straight out to the highway. And that junction is right here around the corner to the left. If you go straight, you would end up at the new Slate Quarry, or sorry, not the new Slate Quarry, one of the other quarries, I can't remember the name of it. And if you go down that road there to the right here, then you end up at the logistics center, and this way you end up back at the main artery, the main highway. It's just south of the garage. So that's where we want to be, south of the garage, towards the warehouse, and then the little detour, and then towards the fuel station. And we're gonna slowly climb out of here, and because this is four-wheel country, I don't leave it in automatic. I put it in the high range or the low gear, and it seems to really drag it through really nicely. It doesn't go very fast, but it goes, for me, about the right speed to be able to navigate these tight turns and tough terrain. So that's why I like to keep it at that speed. If you put it in automatic, the truck is continually trying to shift up and down, and it just keeps going lurching, and it's not a lot of fun to drive that way. But as soon as you get back on the highway, we take it out of the high range of the low gear, we put it back in automatic, and then we'll be able to go a little bit faster. But you can't go that fast in this terrain anyhow, so it's okay to be driving at that speed. We're getting close. Here is the turn off. When you see the little bridge on the left-hand side, that's the turn off to the Silver Quarry, where I gotta go bring that construction rig semi-trailer in the upcoming video. As we're climbing up here, we're almost at the highway, and it's starting to get pretty dark, and I was starting to wonder why I never bothered to turn on my headlights. I think it's because I don't normally drive at night, and to change the time you have to stop the truck, and I gotta stop at the fuel station anyhow, so we'll do it there. We'll change the time of day forward over there. But in the meantime, the Opafet should have been aware, because it's starting to be a little bit dark on the road. It's starting to get to be a little bit hard to see. And I should have turned on the headlights of the truck, but I forgot. I'm sorry about that. Try to remember that for the next time, because we are just about out of the hills here now. And just go to the left here. And we're gonna climb right up out of here. Shifter up into automatic. And head on down the road to the fuel station. First we got to go through that little detour by the warehouse. And just right over here. See, it's getting a little bit hard to see. A little bit hard, but the fuel station is just up ahead around the corner. And we'll fuel up in a second here. And we probably got about, well, we got the worst part of the journey behind us. Getting out of the quarry was the hardest part. And then going through the bush country takes a little bit of time. But here we've got most of the rest of the way is on paved road with a couple of little detours. So we're gonna, well, we made it with 75 liters to spare. That was pretty good, because we went a long way. We went a long way. Now we're going to turn the time ahead so we can see where we're going. And it's off we go, boys. Let's go and deliver these Slate Blocks to the Airport Hangars. We got to do a little detour through the city again, because I don't think they're ever going to finish fixing that road up ahead. So we're going to have to continue to use the detour. Now it's nice driving the Avenhorn A15 compared to the Western Star 6900 twin steer, because the twin steer is so long, makes it hard to go around corners. And boy, I tell you, you jump into the Avenhorn after that, and what a joy with such a short little truck. What a joy to drive. He takes the corners much easier. It's just a nice truck to drive. And at the end of the road, we're going to hang a left here, and we're around the construction part. And just up ahead, we're almost to the far left-hand side or west side of the map. We're almost up at the wall. Now we're going to turn right here and head north, because the airport, as you know, is in the northwestern corner point of the map. So that's where we're going to go. We don't have to worry too much about off-track now, being such a short truck. So we're just going to rip along here, and like I said, just keep it in the middle of the road. We don't have to worry too much about the mud or a few little rocks. It looks like we got it made. Now I have told you before that if you have a muddy area and you stay on the region and you go back and forth through there more than 2 or 3 or 4 times, you keep going through there, the muddy area will get worse each time you go through. Until you, I believe you I think even when you shut down the game, but if you leave the region and go to a different region, go to Amour or go to Quebec or whatever, then the map will reset itself and the muddiness will be the same as it was the first time around. But if you don't, then it will keep getting muddier and muddier. And this particular area that we're going through right now is one of the worst. I got stuck in here with the Western Star twin steer when I hadn't left the map for a while, and I had a heck of a time trying to get through it. Now I've done this video on a different day, so it wasn't surprising to me that I got through here pretty easy. Plus, on top of that, the Avenhorn is a little bit more suited for this kind of driving than the Western Star twin steer, being such a long frame, and then having 2 special cargo containers on the back might have been a lot more weight too. So all of that can help in creating problems for you. So you got to keep an eye on those kinds of things and understand what's happening when they do happen. And now coming up here, we're just going to take a nice slight little turn, and we got a little detour from a washed out road up ahead on the left hand side here. I see my Fem 37AT, I think is the number. He's still sitting there from the last job that he did, but like I said, if I happen to have been running low on fuel right now, I could fuel up from him and continue on my journey. Let's say I forgot to stop at the fuel station, then I could use him. So there's a big advantage to leaving your trucks out on the map. I don't take them away. I clean all the trucks up at the end when I've done my last job. Then you don't need them anymore. You put them all in storage and you go over to your next region. Now here's a little bit of a washout, road washout, so we're just going to go through it. It's just a little dip and right back up again. Not too difficult, but there again, you're better off to go a little bit slower, because if you go a little bit too fast, you hit one of those rocks and you bounce off of it and it flips your truck over. There again, you got nothing but trouble that you really didn't need. So you go a little bit slower, you get through it, and as we're coming up the hill here, we are staring right at the airport terminal, and one tiny little detour left to go. Now you can't see the terminal until you're through the detour, I suppose. And this is the last little detour, but there again, can be a real trouble detour if you're not paying attention or if you're not looking when you're driving. Just up ahead there's a big road in the middle of the detour, and I try to go around it on the right hand side because the left hand side of that big rock juts up quite high, and I don't want to get centered on that or run over it with a tire and really lift my one side of my truck up too much. So we just try to go on the right hand side right here, and as you can see it lifts it a little bit, but it does a pretty good job. That's pretty good. Anyhow, that way we get around this one, and then it's just through a little bit of mud and rocky area, and we're out of it. There we go, just like that. Now I've gone this way a couple of times out to the airport, and when I do get to the airport, I don't go through the terminal facility anymore because there's really no point. It's a really tight area, but I've never really scouted it through before. But now I realize that you can go around it and just go down the airport landing strip. And it's much, much easier. You don't have to worry about running into things. And the delivery goes smoother. You just got to make sure that you watch out for this rock right at the beginning. We're going to turn right here. And there's a rock on the right hand side here. There he is, right there. If you run over him, he will lift your truck way high on the one side. So make sure you miss that rock. And then you just head out onto the landing strip, the cement landing strip, and drive to the end where the drop-off is for the airport hangars. And that's it. Fairly decent job, not too many problems. Nice drive. Really enjoyable. It was a fun trip to do. And it's another job that's done. Hope you enjoyed the video and maybe even got some new information out of it. If not, if you just watch it for the fun, that's okay. We love having people come and watch our videos, and if you like it, give us a thumbs up and share it with your friends. If you don't want to miss any of the upcoming videos, think about hitting that subscribe button. Anyhow, you've been delivering Slate Blocks to the Airport Hangars in Zherbai Quarries in an Avenhorn A15 with me, the Opafet.